It was hot up there, not just warm, thick, like the air had been holding its breath for years. Dust floated like pollen in the sunlight that slipped through the attic slats, landing on the curved edge of an old lampshade, the soft spine of a forgotten photo album. Finn had peeled off his sweatshirt earlier, and now his white t-shirt clunked to his back in patches. I was kneeling next to a stack of boxes when I felt him behind me, not close, just near enough that I could feel his breath shift the space. "I think this one's got her letters," I said, tapping the lid. She used to write with a fountain pen, always made a mess of her wrists. Finn didn't answer. His eyes were on me, not the box. When I looked back at him, he didn't flinch. He just held my gaze. Then he stepped over a beam, crouched beside me, and reached for the lid too. But our hands touched. I pulled mine back. He didn't. It wasn't deliberate. Not at first, but I didn't stop him when he brushed the hair off my cheek. Or when his palm stayed there, too long, too warm, too young. He wasn't what I needed, just what was there? My blouse stuck to the curve of my spine. His fingers traced the line between cotton and skin, slow, like he wasn't sure if he'd wake me or wound me. I was still, not because I was scared, but because I knew if I moved, I wouldn't stop moving. His knee bumped mine. His breath hit the side of my neck, and when I turned my head, just slightly, his mouth found my skin like it had been waiting for years. I didn't kiss him, not really. My lips parted out of instinct, or need, or something that had been asleep in me for too long. He kissed the corner of my mouth like it wasn't allowed, then again, a little closer. I didn't say stop. I didn't say anything. My legs had started to tingle where they were tucked beneath me. My skirt had bunched at the thighs. His hand hovered there, hesitating, then rested gently at the edge of the fabric, uncertain. I should have pulled away, but instead I leaned into him. His hands were hot, almost shaking, not from hunger, from absence. He didn't say anything. He just breathed me in. My blouse slipped lower on one shoulder. The attic light caught the edge of my bra. I felt the air touch skin that hadn't been seen in a long time. I closed my eyes. I let the moment tilt. And when he pulled me toward him, I didn't resist. His chest against my back, his arms around my waist. I couldn't tell where the ache started, only that it had been waiting. That's all I could say. The words died before they left. His lips brushed the top of my spine. My body arched without permission. I felt his breath at my ear. My hips shifted. His thigh slid beneath mine. Don't. He didn't ask. He just stayed. My hand found his wrist, held it. Hard. It wasn't real. It wasn't lasting. But it was happening. He pulled me back against him, gentle but certain. Then my one hand around my middle, one hand tracing the line of my thigh. I was already unraveling. His lips brushed near my jawline. Paused, careful, like he didn't want to push too far. Like he thought I might break. I might have. My back met the attic floor. Wooden beams creaked above. He hovered, then lowered. The pressure of him, the heat. I tilted my head back, and let out something between a breath and a plea. Wait, He held my face, not like a man claiming something, like someone remembering it. This shouldn't be happening. This should have stopped. He kissed me like it was the only soft thing he'd known in months, and I kissed him back like I hadn't been kissed in years. My hips lifted, my breath caught. He pressed his forehead to mine, his eyes shut. He whispered. Don't talk. I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want it to be real. I shifted toward him without thinking, my legs curling slightly beneath me. The scent of cedar and old paper surrounded us. Dust stuck to the sweat on my neck. The box of letters had tipped over. Her handwriting spilled out, looping, perfect, forgotten. "I'm not what you think," he said. I bit down on the inside of my cheek. "I know." He pressed into me like he wasn't sure he'd get another chance, like maybe this was all he'd ever get. His hand tangled in my hair. My shoulder blades arched off the floor. My breath turned shallow. Wait. He didn't. He couldn't, and I didn't want him to. Because if this stopped, I'd have to feel everything else again. He trembled, not from lust, from lack, and I held him harder, not because I wanted him, because I didn't want to feel alone anymore. He was a shadow of a man who wasn't there, but he was warm, and warm is easy to mistake for love when you've been cold too long. I don't know what I thought I was doing, helping him sort through grief, offering comfort, maybe. But when his hand found mine again later, quietly, under the attic beam light, I didn't let go, because the only thing worse than doing something you'll regret is wondering what might have happened if you hadn't. He stayed close, not touching. We sat in the half-light, surrounded by the breath of old things. My skirt was still crooked on my hips, blouse sticking to the curve of my lower back. I tried to adjust myself quietly, like that would make it easier to pretend nothing. He didn't speak, just sat cross-legged, elbows resting on his knees, gaze flicking from the spilled box of letters to the loose insulation hen. I leaned forward to pick up one of the letters, but my fingers were trembling. He noticed. He didn't say anything. He just passed me a bottle of water, the label curling from heat. I took it, drank, didn't thank him. He shifted to sit beside me, thigh brushing mine. Not hard, not intentional, but also not accidental. I didn't want more. I just didn't want to feel less. The attic buzzed with stillness, the kind that doesn't feel peaceful, just full of everything no one will say. Finn reached for another letter and smoothed it flat against his knee. "She signed them all the same," he muttered. "Love always, M." I nodded. "You knew her before I was born." It wasn't a question. "She was louder back then," I said. "And she smoked. God, she smoked like she was trying to outrun something." I was still looking at the same spot on the floor, right where I'd been lying. A faint outline from the pressure of my shoulder. A smudge of makeup, maybe. A strand of hair. He followed my gaze, but didn't mention it. He didn't need to. It was still there. So were we. He stood and crossed the attic, dragging a box toward the opening in the floor. I stood too, brushing off my knees. As we climbed down the narrow steps, he reached a hand to steady me. Just a palm at the small of my back, nothing more. But my breath caught anyway. In the hallway below, everything felt cooler, quieter. The hum of a distant fridge, a hallway light that flickered like it hadn't been replaced in years. I walked to the kitchen, not because I needed anything, but because I needed space. He followed, sat at the table, watched me fill the kettle. I avoided his eyes, set 2 mugs on the counter like it was any normal afternoon. He didn't look away when I finally turned back. "I'm not asking for anything," he said low. I nodded. But part of me hated that he wouldn't fight for it, or that he would. I wasn't sure which one scared me more. He reached across the table, flipped open a photo album, one of the black-paged ones, with those yellowing corner tabs that never really held the pictures anymore. "Is that you?" he asked. I stepped closer, saw a girl in overalls, standing beside his mother, holding a lemonade. "God," I whispered. She made the worst lemonade. All pulp, no sugar. He laughed. Quiet. I didn't join him, because the laughter twisted something in my chest. I wasn't supposed to be part of his past, or his future, just this room, this ache. The kettle clicked off. Steam coiled in the space between us. I poured, stirred, set a mug in front of him. He wrapped his hands around it, even though it was too hot. He didn't say he remembered what we did, but he held that mug like he didn't want to let go of anything warm again. I leaned against the counter, watched him. He was 31, and I was someone's mother. I hadn't been touched like that in years, not since my husband stopped seeing me as a woman. Just furniture. A person-shaped shadow in the house. Finn didn't know that, didn't need to, but maybe he felt it. Maybe that's why he looked at me like he was afraid I might vanish. Like if he blinked, I'd be gone. I took a sip of my tea, burned my tongue, didn't wince. Just let the heat sit there, because I needed to feel something that stung and stayed. This isn't healing, this is hiding. But even then, I didn't move, didn't speak, because in that silence, I could pretend I wasn't alone, and neither was he. If you've ever waited for the perfect moment to reach out, maybe don't. Sometimes it's already too late, but sometimes it's not. Leave a comment with where you're from. Maybe someone nearby has been waiting too. He came back the next day. He didn't call, didn't knock, just walked in with a box of dusty photo frames and 2 sandwiches wrapped in deli paper. Like nothing had happened, like everything had. I was barefoot, wiping the hallway floor with an old towel. My blouse stuck to my ribs in the summer heat, damp from sweat and vinegar water. My hair was clipped up, loose strands falling around my neck. I didn't look up when he set the box down. "You missed a spot," he said. I kept scrubbing. He didn't leave. Instead, he crouched down beside me. His fingers brushed mine as he took the towel. "I can help," he said. His voice was too soft, too careful. I should have pulled away, but I let him take it. And when his hand lingered, just a second too long, I didn't move. The hallway was narrow. My legs were tucked under me, skirt hitched high. His knee pressed against my thigh, firm, intentional. "I brought you something," he said. I looked up. Our faces were inches apart. He didn't blink, didn't smile, just reached slowly into the box and pulled out a cracked wooden frame. "You're in this one," he whispered. "I think." I took it from him. Our fingers touched again. I should have said something. A joke, a deflection, anything but what I didn't say. But I didn't. And in that silence, he moved closer. The wood frame slipped from my hands, landed gently on the floor with a soft clack. I looked at him, and this time, I didn't look away. He leaned in, not fast, like he was giving me time to stop it, but I didn't. His mouth found mine like it was remembering the shape. Soft, then firmer. His hands moved to my waist, my rib cage. I gasped into his kiss. He didn't take it as invitation. He took it as permission, and everything tilted again. My hands went to his shoulders. His breath caught. The floor was cold under my knees. His body was hot against mine. When he pulled me into his lap, I didn't resist. His hands slid up my back, under the blouse. "I shouldn't," I whispered. "You didn't," he said. But his mouth kept moving. Neck, collarbone, the edge of my bra. I exhaled hard, quiet. Not from pleasure, from all the things I'd kept buried, the ache, the fear, the years I'd gone untouched. I clutched at him like he might disappear. He gripped my thighs, pressed his forehead to my chest. He didn't ask to be wanted. He just stayed when no one else did. I couldn't finish the sentence. He didn't try to make me. My body was trembling. The hallway suddenly too bright, too still. We sank to the floor together, slow and wordless, neither of us pulling away. Not rough, not rushed, just like he couldn't stand holding back anymore. His hand found the edge of my skirt, lingering just outside. He kissed me until I forgot where I was, what I was, who I was supposed to be. My voice broke around the breath. Wait, yes, My hands were in his hair. My knee brushed the side of his body as we moved closer. And for a moment, there was no attic, no age, no boundary, only heat, weight, want, and something deeper than either of us could admit. Then it ended. Fast, quiet, no words, just breath. And the sound of the towel still damp on the floor beside us. This isn't who I thought I was, but maybe it's who I've always been. He sat up first, ran a hand through his hair, didn't look at me, but he stayed. He stayed, even when I turned my face to the wall and closed my eyes like I was somewhere else, sometime else. He stayed. We didn't speak the next day, not because he didn't come, because he did. He let himself in again, this time with coffee and a pack of garbage bags. I was at the sink, hands deep in dishwater, sleeves rolled up past my elbows. He set the coffee down near me, didn't say a word, and I didn't turn around. But I took the cup, held it with both hands. The rim was warm. His fingers had just been there. It felt like a goodbye, or maybe worse, like he thought we could go back to normal. He stood behind me, close enough to see his reflection in the kitchen window. His eyes were on me, but not hungry anymore. Just watching, waiting. I wiped my hands and turned around. His mouth opened, then closed, like he had something to say but didn't trust it. Instead, he stepped back and gestured to the box of linens by the door. "I'll take those to the garage." And just like that, we were pretending again. like nothing had happened, except everything had. And every silence now was louder than anything we could have said. He took the box. I followed, not because I needed to, because I couldn't let him leave me alone in that house. The garage was musty. The overhead light flickered, then steadied. He set the box down. I leaned against the frame of the door, arms crossed. "I don't do this," I said. He didn't answer. "I don't cross lines." Still nothing. So I laughed, bitter and soft. But I guess I did, didn't I? His jaw flexed. "You weren't alone," he said quietly. I stepped inside. "Weren't we?" He looked at me then. Really looked. And in that second, I saw it. What he hadn't let me see before. The ache, the loneliness, the weight of being someone everyone leaned on, but no one reached for. He wasn't strong, just silent. I walked past him, stopped near the workbench, picked up a screwdriver, set it down. My hand was shaking again. He moved toward me. Slow. I didn't stop him. This time he didn't touch me. He stood inches away, close enough that I could feel the heat of him in the air. "I shouldn't have..." He didn't finish. "I know," I whispered. The distance between us was like glass, thin, invisible, waiting to shatter, and I shattered it first. I reached up, touched his face. He closed his eyes, leaned into it. Not like a man wanting more, like someone who hadn't been touched in years. I don't regret it. Only quisiera there. He opened his eyes. Neither do I. But we both knew regret wasn't the point. The point was I'd opened something. In him, in me. And now we couldn't close it again. He stepped forward, wrapped his arms around me, just held. No kiss, no escalation, just that unbearable stillness of two people who knew this couldn't continue, but didn't want it to stop. I buried my face in his shirt. He smelled like sun and laundry soap, like someone trying to start over. His hand stroked the back of my head, and for the first time in years, I let myself be held, really held, without guilt, without trying to be strong, without pretending I didn't need it. Because I did. God, I did. I stayed quiet. Because the man I needed never came. So when the wrong one did, I didn't let him go. Not yet. And maybe that's the worst part. I knew exactly what I was doing, and I did it anyway. It happened again in the attic. Not planned, not spoken, but somehow we were both up there, surrounded by cracked boxes and heat and the smell of mothballs and paper glue. He was reaching for something high. I was standing near the open window, the one barely big enough to let in air. When he stepped down from the old wooden chair and turned toward me, we both froze. Too close. He didn't touch me, but the space between us buzzed like it was alive. I swallowed. Thin. My voice caught in the heat. He stepped forward. "I know, sir," he said. "We shouldn't." His hand hovered, then fell to his side. I looked away, but then I felt it. His fingertips at the edge of my sleeve, just barely there. I didn't stop him. And that was all it took. The tension snapped like a wire. His mouth was on mine again, harder this time, urgent. I gasped. He kissed me deeper, and I let go. I grabbed his shoulders, pulled him closer. Our bodies collided with that same fevered quiet. No words, just breath and heat and need. He pressed me gently against the sloped attic wall, one arm braced beside my head, the other sliding around my back. My blouse bunched at my ribs. His hand found the skin beneath, warm and shaking. My eyes fluttered. Wait. He paused. I'm sorry, he whispered, but I shook my head. No, don't be, because I wasn't. Not anymore. My hands ran over his chest, down his sides, memorizing. His shirt caught on my fingers. He helped me pull it over his head, then stood there, bare, vulnerable, older than he looked somehow, like time had been heavy on him too. When he reached for me, it wasn't possessive, it was reverent. He kissed my shoulder, the curve of my collarbone, the soft hollow beneath my throat. I moaned, fragmented, desperate. God. Wait. But I didn't stop. I couldn't. Because this felt like being remembered, not as a mother or a neighbor, but as a woman, alive, needed. He sank to his knees in front of me, hands on my hips, face tilted up. I was trembling now. His lips wandered up my ribs, pausing at places I hadn't felt warmth in years. I clutched the back of his neck, held on, felt everything crack open, years of silence, of being unseen, all of it pouring out in that moment. He stood again, lifted me, gently, onto the pile of folded blankets near the far wall. Our bodies leaned together, breathless, out of sync, out of words. Just ache, just instinct. Yeah, don't. Stop. I wasn't making sense. Didn't care. He held me like something precious, like I might vanish. He didn't take, he just gave, more than I knew I needed. And when it was over, when we lay there panting, chests heaving against the heat, he didn't roll away, didn't speak. He just touched my face, brushed back the damp hair at my temple. I don't know what this is, he said. I nodded. Neither do I. But for once, that was okay. Because I wasn't crying, and he wasn't gone. We lay there until the light shifted, until the attic air cooled just enough to breathe again. And when we went back down, something in me stayed soft. Maybe we weren't right, but we weren't wrong either. Not in that moment. He didn't promise anything, didn't ask what came next. But the next day, he brought coffee again and didn't leave right away. He didn't come by the next morning. I waited longer than I wanted to admit, boiling the water twice, pretending I hadn't already set out 2 mugs. The house was too quiet without him. I opened a window, let the breeze carry in the sounds of other people's mornings. Lawnmowers, a dog barking, someone laughing down the street. I closed it again. That afternoon I found a note taped to the screen door. It wasn't long. Just his handwriting, uneven, almost rushed. Had to head back sooner than I thought. Thank you for everything. I left something upstairs. No name, no number, just that. And something heavy dropped in my chest. I walked back up to the attic. The same smell, same heat, same silence. But near the old trunk we never finished sorting, I saw it. His sweatshirt, the one he'd peeled off that first day. Folded, neatly. On top of it, a photograph. Me, from years ago. I don't know where he found it, but I remembered that day. His mother had snapped the picture while I was laughing, squinting into the sun, lemonade in hand. He must have seen it, tucked into one of the albums, and now it was here, left behind, like a question, like a memory I didn't know I'd given him. I sat down slowly, pulling the sweatshirt onto my lap. It still smelled like him, faintly, like cotton and sweat and warm attic air. He didn't come back, but the fabric still held his shape. Later that week, I boxed up the rest of the attic, taped the lids, labeled everything in small, neat letters. No one came to help, but I wasn't angry, not anymore. I played the same record I'd been humming that day we folded towels together in the hallway. And when it skipped, right at the end of the second verse, I didn't fix it. I let it play like that, again and again. Because it felt like him, incomplete, interrupted, but still playing. Maybe we weren't a love story. Maybe we were just a moment someone needed to be seen, and in that moment, he saw me, completely, and I let him. I haven't heard from him since. I don't expect to, but sometimes when I pass the attic stairs, I run my fingers along the railing and wonder if I left something up there too. Something he'll find someday, or maybe already did. Because we never really take everything with us, do we? We always leave a little behind. I reached for him like a lifeline, but maybe I wasn't drowning. Maybe I was dragging him under too. And still, I do it again. This story was told from a woman's personal experience. Some moments have been adjusted to protect privacy. But every silence and every glance was real. Details and names have been changed, but the ache, that part, never needed editing.